because it's half Phoenicians and half Tucsonans, and we're growing together, and it's
half Phoenicians. Are there Sumerians around there too?
From the ancient times, yes.
Welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast with the goal to educate, inform, and save their listeners time as they navigate the market and properties in their neighborhoods. Get ready to join real-life siblings and professional real estate advisors, Donna Reed and Eric Seemann, as they discuss how it may be simple, but it ain't always easy.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast that just ain't typical. I'm Eric, she's Donna, and we are the Real Siblings. For your reference, she's shorter, I'm taller, but we're both professional realtors with Keller Williams. This podcast blends lifestyle together with real estate as we work to communicate, educate, connect, and entertain our listeners. We hope that while we share some memories, history, statistics, or simply information about the real estate industry, that we will illuminate our listeners on our topic of the day. And topic of the day is, this is episode 24. We had started on episode 8 that every 8th episode we were going to talk about our local markets. So this is third episode of Markets on the 8th.
I'm like, math, 8
dun, dun, dun. And we also need to note that 24 episodes at producing 2 episodes per month. This means we've done 1 full year and we've crossed that threshold, and we will be over 2,000 total listens. Thanks for listening. Keep the downloads coming. We want to keep growing. We want to keep doing this.
We want to surpass 100 per episode. And since we're talking stats today, which, by the way, if you would all look, if you're watching this, I have a much better stats picture than my brother Eric, who has a picture of a little giant, which is a whole nother question. But we want to surpass 100 listens per episode as an average, and we are hovering around 89. So anyway, tell your friends and family. And then Eric, tell me why when I went and researched stats and got this cool little graph, you put up a picture of little giants.
Because I really have gotten to appreciate as our mascot in high school. Okay. And as you drive around, as you work the city, as you go to all of your schools, how many schools have exactly that, regardless of the name, have exactly the same logo or mascot that so many other schools have. I think even within one school district in San Antonio, you'll have an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school, all with the exact same mascot, but with a different name or a different image. Eagles are used so frequently, and you had mentioned Wildcats or Power Cats.
Wildcats, Power Cats, Bulldogs. We talked about our elementary school Bulldogs, how there's a lot of Bulldogs. Some look more fierce than others.
And I'm in Bandera Bulldogs. You are a Bulldog for life when you grow up in Bandera. Both of the elementary schools, there are 2, same mascot. To the middle school, which is the Bulldog, which goes to high school, Bulldog.
So you commented, you and I were talking, and you were commenting like, who designed this? So that'd be interesting. There's 2 or 3 people on the Ross High School page or whatever that either are still affiliated in some way, shape, or form, but it'd be fun to go back and find out who designed that. Yeah. Because I'm sure somewhere in the archives, we could find out who designed that.
And you know what? Even at a high school level, purple is not a common color for high school colors. How many high schools do you have out in your area that you can think of use purple as a color? I honestly, we've got blues and whites and reds, greens.
Oranges, we got, yeah.
But
there's some ugly combinations, frankly. But yeah, that's why when Dan moved to Manhattan, Kansas, and the Kansas State is purple and white, I was like, what are the chances of that? Anyway, so maybe that's a statistic. Is that we can feed that into our market stats by talking about how many people have little giants? And
how many people have little giants?
So Eric, tell me what's happening in the San Antonio market. Where are you at with your numbers?
Okay, we said San Antonio, but I'm going to go national.
Okay.
Straight hot off the press as I block off my face and I lose the video. CoreLogic, which is a source that I use, get some of my market statistics information, is saying that year over year, home growth price dropped to 3.1%.
Which is closer to the national long-term average.
To the national long-term. That's not necessarily what represents our market, but this is the kind of information that gets put out that the average buyer starts listening to, or the seller starts listening to, going, oh, my house only grew 3.1% in value. If that's $1 million house, your house just went up.
Right. Well, and
$30,000.
And if there's somebody who says, but last year my neighbors was blah, 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 because last year they were up 20% or 25%. Or I talked to somebody yesterday and they went, I think 50%. Maybe it was a Boise couple or something. We were talking about the ridiculousness of, I don't know if I should say that or not, but it was kind of crazy. So this is where the stats can make a seller think their house is still worth something. And then the buyer's looking at it a whole different way, right?
Well, and that's the difference in value and price. We see it all the time from a retail standpoint.
Right.
Do you ever go out and plan to pay full price? Honestly, groceries are about the only thing you see that you get that's not tagged as suggested farmer's retail price. It's, I'm buying a flat of strawberries. This is the price.
Yeah.
You'll get a coupon. You may save on specific items, but it's not like the rest of our retail shopping and our behavior where we walk in going, where's the clearance rack? Where's the sales? What's the discount today? You've probably seen stores open in your area where they immediately start advertising the sale price.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, didn't you just open a week ago? How can you be having clearance sales already?
They're clearing out something from somebody. So
but it works.
I'm interested because I looked up our stats in all of Southern Arizona. So the graph that I have and everything is our entire MLS, and our MLS is like north of Tucson all the way down to Nogales and Sierra Vista and all that. So I'd be interested to know how we compare to the national numbers.
Okay, from here in San Antonio, and I break this down because I think the most common thing that we're both asked for is you start to have a basic conversation with the buyer and it's like, well, I need 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. Right?
Yeah.
So I take off some of the high stuff. I take off the condos, and I'm just looking at single family residential. And this doesn't allow me to drill down in this particular report to a 3.2.
Yeah.
But the difference, if you look at all the properties that are currently on the market, our median price is still $315,000 a house. We closed over 3,000 sales this past month.
Okay.
We have 8,800 active listings, which is about 3.1 months of inventory. So our inventory, the same as the national increase in price, but 3.1 is still a heavy seller's market. Everybody will tell you, and if you watch the national news, any report is gloom and doom, right?
Yeah. So our April stats were that we had 2326 sold, and our median was 342,000. When you said your numbers, I was kind of thinking about geographically, you and I talk about how far we drive. You're in the country. You're not right in San Antonio.
Right.
So you take a little bit of time to get into town. But if you're going across, let's say you're going from one side to the other, northwest to southeast or something like that, how many miles might you drive that your MLS encompasses all of this from a price perspective?
Oh my goodness. If I can drive the entire MLS now, we extended it. Unfortunately, a city that most people have heard about that they never knew of existed before a year ago, Uvalde.
Yeah.
90 miles, and they're now part of our MLS.
So are they 90 miles from where you are?
90 miles. It's considered to be like 90 miles from downtown San Antonio. I actually eliminate some of that drive because we're both on the west side of town, so I could take some country roads and skip the downtown. But yeah, very, very easy for me to drive from where I'm at. Say if the Alamo is the hands on the clock, downtown San Antonio.
Okay. We
are at about 10 o'clock. If I try to drive to a property down on the 4 o'clock side, so directly opposite on
the clock,
that is going to be over 60 miles one way.
So that's a little bit further than us. So what is we're still, I always tell people Tucson still has like a million, one people, and then about 2 million in the winter. What are you guys from your?
We're closer to, I think, the most recent metropolitan area now, with all of the little suburbs and everything that are part of it. We're getting close to 3 million.
Okay. And where you are, you just said you're at about 10 o'clock on that clock, and for me, it's nice that you're where you are, because when I come from Arizona, it's a little less driving.
It's a little less driving.
Yeah, you were at 13 hours instead of 14. But you're also then getting close to like Kerrville. Is Kerrville in your MLS, or is that a whole different MLS?
No, actually, Kerrville actually has its own board.
Okay.
So Kerrville is far enough out.
Okay.
That they developed and had their own board. And it's a very different lifestyle and a different buyer.
Okay.
To go out into the hill country. So I am actually a member, because of where I sit. I'm a member of the San Antonio board, and I'm a member of the Kerrville board.
Okay, you are.
And I work both areas. And Kerrville gets me further out, even further to the north and west than I would or can reach with San Antonio. Right. So if I've got clients that are trying to look further away, that helps get me additional distance out. And it also gives me 2 channels that I can help promote and get listings published. And
it pulls you into some of that farm and ranch that you like, that doesn't, you're such things that are almost like diametrically opposed when you think of like the historic downtown piece of you, that part that you love compared to the farm and ranch piece, which is, the other end of the spectrum. So I think about this a lot when I think about where I live and how long I've been in Arizona compared to Ohio. So in Ohio, we were in a little town. It was 5 miles. There was another little town, 3 miles, another little town. And all those little towns came together when we went to school in Fremont, or something like that. But to me, it felt very defined. It felt very broken. And you weren't just transitioning from one to the other. Even
driving to Fremont, 590 to Route 20, you felt like you left the town and you went to a town.
Exactly.
It wasn't like Casa Grande, driving into Tucson, driving into, and those that all blend together. What's the term? Megalopolis?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to bring up, because 23 years ago, when somebody said Casa Grande, I was like, where's that? And now it's the place where I go, dang, maybe I should buy an investment property up there, because it's half Phoenicians and half Tucsonans, and we're growing together, and it's
half Phoenicians. Are there Sumerians around there too?
From the ancient times, yes. Phoenix is an old word, be fair, right?
It is. But I never.
Yeah.
Is that actually how they refer to themselves, as Phoenicians and Tucsonians?
That's what I call them. I had my clients last night that I had dinner with from Quebec. They're going to Tuscany, and she was having a trouble with the word Tucsonan. She was like Toscana, and I'm like, no, you're going to Tuscany. It's Italy. We're
do you have Tuscanianites?
Tuscanians? Yeah, whatever. I don't know. We're Michiganders, all those. So no, but that was my point, is that in Arizona, I've always felt like we had Tucson, Phoenix, Flagstaff, 3 major cities, and then little things. But all those little things are starting to come together. And we still have the Native American, we still have the reservation, we still have areas governed differently than just by the US government. And so there are some places there's a lapse or a little, lag in building. But from a numbers perspective, it's kind of fascinating. And our MLS goes from Pima County is, north of Tucson, and our MLS goes into a couple of other counties all the way to the border. So these numbers and our median go from the $2 million and $3 million properties to the $100,000 ones in the mining towns, right? All over the place. And that's where we come up with that median price, but still up.
Well, and I mentioned that in my numbers, the total of 8,800 units is about 3.1 months, but we have a lot of new construction because of our ongoing growth that we've talked about in past episodes, because we are just
in MLS
Texas,
or no?
There are still many people still migrating to Texas. Texas is in a growth mode. Actually, ERCOT, which is the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, just produced a report that said, even though we have the power to generate, or we have the generation capacity, we don't have the distribution capacity for all of the new homes that have gone in. And as a result, Texas, they're kind of warning, we get some of those really hot days that we'll have coming up for us in July and August. We are going to have the potential of brownouts.
Wow.
Because they can't control it. But the rest of that statistic is out of the 8,800, there are about 3,500 of those houses that are new construction. So when you look at just the new construction based on how many new homes have sold or closed and how many are currently active, that is 4.7 months of inventory on hand. As a result, there are more incentives from builders. They are offering, if you're buying a house that's foundation mold and framing, but they're allowing you to do more customization and they're giving you incentives to get you into the design studio to do more upgrades or have more selections. Honestly, they're being more generous to us as real estate.
Us too. Do the majority of your builders, do they put their listings in MLS or only if they're close to being ready, or are you seeing a little?
It depends on the builder in the neighborhood. There are some builders that you go online, you'll see their houses. It's nothing but 3D rendering of what the house is supposed to look like. Our MLS requires that you put 4 pictures in. Generally, what you're seeing with some of the builders is you'll see one of a 3D rendering, one that's going to show the floor plan, one that may have a picture of the model house, and then something to do with the amenities or what's going on in the community in the area are going to be the first 4 pictures. At most, you may have 6, and they'll say, come on out and see us, and we'll show you exactly what we got.
Got it. That makes sense. We're seeing some of that too. And our builders are exactly the same way. They weren't giving us anything, or they were giving us 1 or 2% during the ridiculousness of a year or two ago. And now we're getting bonuses and more bonuses if we sell 2 in a certain amount of time or something like that.
And that's us as the real estate agents on how we make a living, bringing and having a qualified buyer to a qualified seller, whether that's a new build or a pre-owned.
Yeah. So Eric, you and I haven't talked about this. Somebody, I ask you this and then you can, either say yay or nay. But as we talk about this, the other day I asked you about what you thought the value of your home was because of where you live, the type of home you have, the drive that you have to get up there, the fact that you have a Michigan State sign at your house. Some of us do, some of us don't. And then do you remember when Rachel visited us and after we hung up, from being recorded, she was like, so what do you guys sell for out there? Because of our price points. So you and I live in very different situations, right?
Yes.
I live in a 13 to 1,400 square foot townhome, single story, 2-car garage, gated community in a reasonably good zip code in Arizona. I paid $145,000 for my house 10 years ago. If I was to put it on the market today, it would sell for probably anywhere from $325,000 to $350,000. And with the shortage of properties and the fact that I have just finished the kitchen, right? I'm going to guess closer to the $350,000. Okay. And I have a homeowners association. I pay $128 a month for the privilege of them telling me what I can't do in my front yard. But that's
like your trash cans from our past episode that says you can't put them out until 4:00 in the afternoon the day before.
Exactly. Okay. So your situation, you are, tell our listeners where you are and about your house and land.
Okay. So my wife and I have 2 properties. The first one was 6.5 acres. The second one was slightly over 6 acres, about 6.25 acres. So combined, we have just under 13 acres of Texas hill country. We don't want to use the word idyllic, but because of the orientation of our property, we sit up and abut a 3,700 acre ranch. Because of the runs of our property lines, the closest that anybody could build to us potentially is over 1,000 feet away down at the bottom of the hill. And that's not where they're going to build. So if that ranch decides to sell to a developer sometime in the future, the closest house is probably going to be closer to a 1/4 mile away.
So that's across, like if I'm standing on your back deck looking out over, that's going to be like across.
That first ridge line, correct.
Okay.
So Bandera County versus Bexar County.
Okay.
We've talked about this in the past. The largest portion we pay for property taxes is school. Mm-hmm. And because Bandera is a single school with a single high school, a single middle school, and two elementary schools. Our taxes for a 2,400 square foot house with attached over 1,600 square foot of deck, our outbuildings, as well as our well, our septic, and all of those things. County has its appraised. The most recent one came through at $330,000, which means we're going to be right at around $4,000 in taxes. But if I had that same $300,000 in San Antonio, that would be close to $7,000 in taxes.
So because in where you are, it's a little bit less.
So that is an advantage to us. But when we did our trust last year, we estimated, or I had us right at about $480,000
for a purchase price if you were going to sell it?
For a purchase price.
Okay.
And with the increase in what's recently gone on, I would say we are over the $500,000 point at this point, even with where we're at, with as remote as we are, because of orientation, because of where we're at. I think our days on market is probably going to be longer than yours would be. You're going to be a much quicker sell.
Yep.
But the value of everything that we have.
Yeah. When you bought that
go up. And when we bought it and financed it all 20 years ago, we had to do a construction. We did purchase, we did land, we did all of the improvements in one loan. That was about $177,000. So our 177 20 years ago to now being over $500,000 on our market.
Simultaneously, brother, you and I have also talked about this in past episodes. On that rocky hillside where you are, and with the iron, you've had the sump pump. You've had not the sump pump. We've had
the well pump.
You've had,
water heaters. Yes.
Yeah, you've had the rust. So you've definitely had the maintenance that comes with living where you live, right?
Correct.
But that's part of the whole, like, people choose where they're going to be. And
the lifestyle.
Yeah, right. And it's a good thing we don't all want to be in the same place, right? Or else we'd really be in trouble, if everybody that was on the water wanted the desert and vice versa.
We wouldn't have so many options. Now, I have to ask a question. I'm going to switch us back and I'm going to go to your background because your chart graph, what are we seeing there? Because I see a flat line.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it?
Typically, flatlining means there's no movement, no activity, and no life. So
I know.
What does that mean?
If you go back to this, and this was like a 3-year graph, and I had cut it to, I did 5 and then I did 1, but at 1, it was just a straight line. Bottom line of this particular piece is showing that sellers are getting 100% of their list price still. So 100% of list price. However, list price are lower than they were a year ago for the most part. Not always, as we always, it's price, condition, location, right? Yep. And so our days on market now, the average is 13 as compared to a year ago or 2 years ago, 6-1, a half a minute,
right?
From a year or two ago. We have a 2.6 month supply, so ever so slightly less than your 3.1. And a normal market would be a 6-month supply, right? So we're both at less than we should be in the world of whatever normal used to be. We haven't seen normal for a while. So I would venture to guess since pre-COVID, right? Since 2018.
Well, I don't even know. Would you go back as far as 2007 and 2008 to where you had something coming out of that where it was normal?
Yeah, I would put it in those middle years because 5, 6, and 7 and everything dropped in like 8. And then you had the 10, 11, 12, 13, which fortunately is when I bought, right? I think about that now. I feel lucky that I bought then. So that flat part of the line shows that for the most part, sellers are getting 100% of the price that they ask for. Now, what I don't know, because I didn't delve into it super deep, is to see, did they get 100% of their price? And they maybe gave some closing concessions.
Right.
Maybe they helped buy down somebody's interest rate or something in the last.
Which is happening a lot more frequently.
Right. But overall, and right now, I'm just having my first where somebody wants to assume a VA loan. In 18 years, I've hardly ever had that because we didn't have interest rates going up like they're going up right now.
Have you had any kind of estimate on how long the assumption would take?
I haven't. As a matter of fact, it just happened today. I showed a retired Marine or an ex-Marine a house that I have. My concern is that the mortgage on this is $478,000, and that's pushing the dollar amount. They did a refi, which is why we're at 2.5%, which of course anybody would want to assume, right, in today's market. But for a VA loan, there are some things about the home that I'm not 100% sure that the condition will allow. So we're in and as a matter of fact, when you and I are done recording, I need to get this buyer's agent, the seller's lender, so that we can do some talking about whether or not it's a viable alternative.
And we have the full market spread. I'm going out with buyers on Wednesday and Thursday of this week, looking for half-acre, older manufactured or old site built, where we're looking to try to stay under $130,000, and I've got options to look at.
Really?
While you've got the flip side of that, where I've got one on the market that's almost 10 times that from a value standpoint.
Wow. Oh,
right?
yeah. So tell the listeners about that, because you and I talked about that you're at like the 1.1 million, right? Isn't that kind of right? And I think it's fascinating what you were telling me about the square footage and things like that. So why don't you share about that?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this house, kind of unusual. It is, well, kind of unusual. The builder was David Weekley Homes. I don't know if David Weekley works out in your area, if that means anything to you. So definitely a Texas builder. I think they're not just exclusive to Texas, but the house was originally built at just under 3,400 square feet on a single level. So 3,400 square feet of living space. There is a covered patio. There is an attached 3-car garage, as well as the driveway for the 3-car garage. It all sits on 0.2 acres. So that means the total amount of yard, even before they put in their swimming pool, was very, very small. Then they put in about as large of pool as you could get into their backyard within their designated easements.
Yeah.
In order to give them outdoor space. I have had some of my showings going, well, there's not enough yard. And my thought on that, as you and I discussed, was 3,400 square feet, 3-car garage on 0.2. There wasn't going to be much yard
left.
Anyhow, look at all of the numbers.
Well, and also then you said to me, and how much time in Tucson or in San Antonio in the summer do kids spend playing outside?
Playing outside. From the time I moved here.
Yeah.
I never had, when I had young children moving here 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It was not a go outside and play. Occasionally, but it had to be those right months in the fall or in the spring. And we had a swing set. We had fully landscaped area. It's just not something you do. It was not like we're growing up in Ohio, where every day was outside and playing. We were outside.
Right. And may or may not.
Spring, summer, winter, fall, we went out. You had a snowsuit and you played in the snow. You put on ice skates and you went down to the creek. You raked leaves, you jumped in the leaves. You might be in long sleeves. If it was summer, I was barefoot and in shorts. And of course, I'm in barefoot and shorts 99% of the time. That's my
You don't know the difference, Mr. Claus.
Preferred attire.
Yeah, that was just fascinating to me. And also the comment that you and I had talked about was that house is a 5-bedroom house, right? And that you had somebody that thought they needed 6 bedrooms so that every child could have their own room. Think about how we lived. You guys, 3 boys in the same room, and I got my own because I was lucky because I was the only girl.
That's right. The big 1868 house that we talked about, we moved in. Dan was still at home, hadn't graduated yet. So Dan, Ken, and I shared. He had a double bed, and we had the bunk beds in one room. You had your space. Dad and Mom had their space. Your friends' cruises, right? Isn't that what you said? Yeah,
they had
4 girls were in.
4 girls in one room and the boys were in the other. And there were 9 kids, and so the fact that people are coming and they want this house, but they want 1 bedroom for every child and all those bathrooms, and we shared a bathroom, 1 bathroom. So anyway, we could go on.
I had to go downstairs. So
that's
all right.
Statistics kind of
I'm going to say we're both seeing the ticker.
Yeah, we are.
On time. You got to close this episode for us.
I do. Thank you for joining us today and listening as we recall and reflect our life in Lindsey, which we just did a little bit, and how it impacted our lives and careers in real estate. Today was a day of a little bit of data, a little bit more about the houses. And we try to blend this with lifestyle and talk about how it affected our choices and our careers. So we hope that you will continue to join us, and keep in mind that our goal is to communicate and educate and entertain and connect with you. and our listeners. So if you're in Arizona, specifically, I am in the Tucson areas, and I'm available to help you. And then Eric is in South Central Texas. I always think Southwest, but that's just me. We are both realtors with Keller Williams, and we are here to help you find a perfect property for your family to call home and create your own lasting memories. If you're across the United States or anywhere around the world, we are part of an extensive network of professionals and real estate advisors. And we would be happy to connect you with an amazing realtor somewhere else besides Tucson or San Antonio, right? Yeah. So until next time, remember, it may be simple, but it ain't always easy. And until we meet again, I'm Donna.
I'm Eric.
And we are
Real Siblings.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, I'm Annabelle, and I want to thank you for investing your valuable time in listening to Real Siblings. It Ain't Easy. I hope you found this episode informative and enjoyable. There are several ways you can support this podcast with my Grandpa Eric and Aunt Grandma. Please take the time to like, follow, and subscribe. Additionally, leave them a 5-star rating along with a review on your preferred podcast platform. The final thing I would ask is that you recommend this podcast to a friend, a family member, or an associate. Your engagement is critical to their ongoing success, and they look forward to connecting. Check out the show notes Grandpa put together with their contact information, including emails, phone numbers, and website. And remember, the Real Siblings look forward to hearing from you.